Hello and welcome to this special broadcast where we'll be exploring some of the standout lots in the Sotheby's Materiality auction. I'm Paul Redmayne and I'm delighted to be joining you here from the St. Regis Island Resort and Saadiyat Island. Over the course of this program, I'll be sitting down with Sotheby's specialists, industry experts, and together we're going to uncover the stories, the craftsmanship, and the innovation behind some of the most remarkable lots in this sale. Highlights include a Hermès limited edition black box Midas Sellier Kelly 25 with yellow gold hardware. A selection of Hemmerle jewels, including a pair of earrings set in bronze, a pair of earrings set in copper. We have a Richard Mille reference RM 3503 Rafael Nadal skeletized watch, a Bugatti Factor ONE bicycle, a Bugatti Chiron 2019 in fully exposed carbon fiber, shown here behind me. We have a 1993 Mercedes-Benz 500 AMG 6-litre. What connects these exceptional lots is materiality. Exceptional materials can be transformed into something greater than the sum of the individual parts, through craftsmanship, through techniques, through innovation. From precious metals and gemstones to carbon fiber, leather, and cutting-edge automotive materials, this auction celebrates the relationship between the maker and the material. It is also fitting that this auction is being presented online here in Abu Dhabi, as a city renowned for bringing together tradition, innovation, craftsmanship, and technology. Abu Dhabi provides the perfect backdrop for an auction that explores how the world's finest materials are reimagined in exciting new ways. Welcome to Abu Dhabi and to Sotheby's Materiality auction. The automobile has long been a canvas for innovation, craftsmanship, and design, making it a natural fit for the materiality sale. In this auction, we have two remarkable examples. One is a landmark rarity from AMG's independent era, and the second is one of the most advanced hypercars ever created. To tell us more, I'm delighted to be seated here with Duccio Lopresto, Managing Director, RM Sotheby's, Middle East and North Africa.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight into the G-Wagon. So tell us about the Mercedes-Benz, the name I keep butchering. Yeah. Tell us about the Mercedes-Benz and how rare is this automobile?
It's an exceptional automobile. It's incredibly rare. The actual model name and specification is GE 500 V8 6-liter AMG. Very long name, but it's considered to be one of the, if not the most special G-Class ever produced for many reasons. And this particular example we have in the sale, even more special than the model itself. So, AMG used to be an independent manufacturer, separated from Mercedes, up until 1999, when Mercedes purchased 51% of the company. Everything that was done before by AMG is considered to be the sort of holy grail of collectibles. And when it comes to the G-Class, which is already considered by most people, most collectors, the top SUV in existence, and one of the most iconic ones, to have G-Class done by AMG in the pre-merger era is something exceptional. And what AMG did to this car is basically they put a V8, very powerful engine, 6-liter, very big block engine, into a G-Class and created basically the legend of the G-AMG version.
Which is what we see.
Which is what you see
here in the UAE.
Everywhere. In the UAE, it's quite common. But when you order a G-Class from Mercedes, normally the top of the line is always the AMG version, which is the sportier, the faster version.
And I believe, Duccio, only 13 examples of this car were ever made. So this Correct. Is one of 13.
Yes, one of 13. But it's the only one. We believe it's the only one made in a very special avant-garde verde green color, which was a custom-made color ordered by this royal family member that wanted a car in a specific special color. The car features some other elements which makes it completely unique, like the wider fenders. The car has very, very big fenders. We think, and the story says that when the buyer ordered the car, wanted to have wider fenders for desert riding. As we know, G-classes are cars that are specifically made for off-road purposes. The Geländewagen, when it was built and conceived, it was literally created for that purpose. But this royal family member decided to have an even stronger and larger version with this very big and characteristic wider fenders. And also it features some other little touches that makes it unique, like the extra air intakes on the bonnet and special interiors. So very special.
The G-Class has become one of the world's most recognizable luxury vehicles. I think it's fair to say. And as we've said, we do see a lot of them here in the UAE. Where does this particular model sit within that background?
So the AMG funds and Mercedes funds consider this car to be the most special G-Class ever produced because of the pre-merger AMG history, or one of the most special. But when we talk about the pre-merger history, this is definitely the rarest one. And what makes it even more special, this example, is the mileage, because it's only 24,000 kilometers from new, approximately, if I'm not mistaken. And on a car that is, 33 years old, that's nothing. And you can see it from the conditions of the car. It's literally incredible. Mint conditions, perfect inside out, beautiful.
Lovely. Well, thank you. Let's turn now to the second car that we have in the Materiality auction. So the Bugatti Chiron, a very special car as well. Tell us a bit about where it sits, where the Chiron sits in the Bugatti family, and then lead on to where this specific model sits in the Chiron family.
We're very privileged and honored to have such a car in general. I think as car enthusiasts, I think Bugatti, after the acquisition by Volkswagen, have done an incredible job in creating dreams literally on the roads. The Chiron is the successor of the Veyron, and it basically took everything that Bugatti did to the Veyron to a next level. And it took the speed even further, horsepowers from like 1,000 to 1,400, carbon fiber everywhere, carbon fiber chassis, even better interior, reshaped design, beautiful design. And so I think it's just like an incredible piece of technology and luxury and design and beauty. And what makes this particular example even more special is the fact that it was ordered new with full exposed carbon fiber. And I think this is just an incredible feature of the car because it makes it faster, like lighter, and more beautiful and more special and rare, and definitely more expensive because when it comes to carbon fiber, as you know very well, the material is very difficult to manufacture and to produce, and and this car and it fits the theme, the concept of the sale, Materiality, very well.
As we saw today, the number of looks, the head turner, this car is a real head turner, and to have that carbon fiber. So carbon fiber is often associated with performance, but here it's not just performance, it's aesthetic as well. It elevates it, for me as a layman, to being it's an art form. And we'll reference as well, we do actually have two carbon fiber Bugattis in this sale. So we've got the car and we've also got the Bugatti Factor ONE carbon fiber bicycle. So we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to get those two together. But in terms of, do you see the collectability of this car? Is this seen by collectors today as a classic of the future?
Personally speaking, I believe so. It's very difficult to predict the future. in a market that is, so difficult to understand, like the car market. It's driven by passion, by emotions, and by human beings and their sort of like passions. So I think it's quite difficult to say this car will become like a future classic. I think it's already a classic because of what it represents. But if you look at how the world of cars, the automotive world is changing. It's going towards full electrification, hybridization. So I think the future will look a bit more boring, if you want, from a product line standpoint, and less exciting. So that's why people will look at the past and will look at the great cars that sort of reshaped an era. In my personal opinion, as a car guy, collector, I think this car will be seen as a timeless piece of art, of design, of technological advancement. And I think it will definitely become a collectible.
It's exactly that. That's the word I was going to use. It's timeless.
Yeah.
When I see this car, I can't define it as being this is a 2020, 2025, 2020, 2018, 2050. That shape is timeless. And the fact that this car is essentially brand new, how important is that for collectors?
It is quite important, especially on these cars. The car came out, this particular example, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019. And it's only got 1,800 kilometers from new. So nothing. It's really like literally brand new. On these cars, especially on hypercars and supercars, it makes a difference because the lower the mileage normally, the higher will be the asking price because obviously the conditions, generally speaking, are better.
Duccio, thank you for your time and thank you for explaining this to us.
Thank you, Paul. It was a very, very nice conversation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual studio. Later on, I'll be joined by colleagues and specialists from Sotheby's watches, jewelry, and handbags as we take a closer look at some of the standout lots in this sale. But first, one of the most fascinating aspects of Materiality isn't just the extraordinary objects themselves, but the people who collect them and the stories behind those collections. Joining me now is Dr. Brian Etimad, CEO of Tamleek Real Estate and Tamleek REIT and Global Investments. Alongside his successful business career, Brian is also a passionate collector with first-hand experience of many of the objects we're about to discuss. And as Brian just so happens to own a Bugatti Chiron, I'm pleased to welcome back Duccio Lopresto, Managing Director of RM Sotheby's Middle East and North Africa. Gentlemen, it's great to have you both with us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Thank you, Paul.
So, jumping straight in, Brian, you've built a hugely successful career in business, but you're also a passionate collector. What first sparked that interest, and what is it that draws you to these extraordinary objects that you collect?
Sure. Well, Paul, I was always a firm believer of investing into an asset class while you can enjoy the asset and also benefit from the capital appreciation. That's what drew me into real estate in the first place. Because, if you talk about real estate, if you talk about cars, watches, they all have similarities whereby you look at the developer, develop them, look at the craftsmanship, engineering, materials that are used. And for me, it was a very natural foray into collecting cars, watches, and art. And it's a pleasure because I like to see my investment. I like to enjoy my investment at the same time, do it in a smart way whereby we can also get the capital appreciation in the future as well.
I think that's the key thing that you said as well. You enjoy your investment whilst you own it,
Yes.
rather than some people we've been talking, or we'll be talking later about watches and about jewelry. And some people have the tendency they'll buy a collection and they'll hide it away. Whereas it sounds like you're a collector who actively enjoys what you collect. Is that fair to say?
It's 100% fair because, I never believed in investing in stocks, bonds, although, at the end of the day, we have a finite years of life that we're living on this earth. And I really want to enjoy what I invest in. I want to see it, I want to feel it, I want to touch it, and I want to use it as well. So I'm one of those collectors that I use what I invest in because I believe collection, and especially art, it's for others to see, enjoy as well. It's not just for you. So with respect to art, we have a huge collection in our house. People can come in, can view it as well, and wherever we are. Cars, same. Watches, the same. So whatever investments we do, we like it to be seen by others and enjoyed by many.
Yeah, fully agree. And that brings us nicely onto the auction. So let's turn now to a few lots in the Materiality auction. And I think, based that you are the owner of one of these cars, I think now we'll talk about the 2018 Bugatti Chiron. So we had a fantastic opportunity earlier to explore this remarkable Bugatti with Duccio. You own one yourself, Brian. And what is it that made you choose this particular car over any other car?
What Bugatti has done, which is 100% credit to them, they are a fantastic team. Number one, their team is number one. There's a saying that once you drive a Bugatti, you're not going to drive any other car, which I fully agree to that. I believe the one that you have in auction is out of 200. So you are a lucky one person that can own something that is only made 200 pieces globally out of population of 8.3 billion people. So just the fact that you own something that only 199 other people own, and this asset, you can be assured that it's going to do extremely well because it's rare. It's going to rise in value in the future, as we know that when it is released.
So let's stay with Bugatti and let's move away from the four-wheeled version to the two-wheeled version, because we also happen to have in this auction, lot number 14 is the Bugatti Factor ONE bicycle, which is, as you say, super rare, just like the Chiron. So 250 of these are being made by Factor in collaboration with Bugatti. It's a very special partnership. And it demonstrates beautifully how one iconic brand can extend its own design philosophy beyond the automotive world, and can piggyback over and jump over into cycling. Now, this bike, it came from a conversation between Rob Gitellis, who's the owner and founder of Factor Bikes, who are a super high-end, high-performance bike manufacturer. And he was asked, because they get approached all the time to do various collaborations, as do Bugatti. And he was asked by his team, if you could have one car in the world, what would you have? And he said a Bugatti. So they jumped on the phone and they called Bugatti and they said, let's do a collab. But we don't want it to be just a paint job. So the detail they've gone into is quite exquisite. So they've mimicked the carbon 3K twill layout, which they have in the Bugatti. That's the top layer of this bike. All of the pieces are branded Bugatti. So you've got carbon there, you've got ceramic bearings, you've got the bar tape, you've got the saddle, which is covered in the same material that you find on a Bugatti steering wheel. The attention to detail is absolutely exquisite. There's 250 of these available in the world. And this is one of one in the sense that Bugatti will do a custom paint job for you, and you'll work with the Bugatti and the Factor team. And continuing with the family and the collectors. Now, Brian, I know watches are another passion of yours. And so we'll jump into the watch family now. And this sale features two remarkable Richard Mille timepieces. Richard Mille's they're watches that perfectly embody the spirit of Materiality. They combine cutting-edge materials with extraordinary engineering and contemporary design. And the first lot of this auction is lot number 1, which is the Richard Mille RM3503, the Rafael Nadal. So tell us a bit about this watch, Brian, and what you like about this watch.
Actually, this specific watch is the most highly asked watch of me because a lot of my friends live overseas and they can't get a hold of this watch. So I have some connections in the UAE. So the number one request I had regarding Richard Mille itself was for this watch, Rafael Nadal, because I believe how light it is. It's for everyday use. The color scheme, the material that is used on it. So out of all the Richard Milles that have been shown, for me personally as well, I own one. So I'm again partial to this watch as well. But all my friends overseas, I told them to enter your auction. So you'll have a lot of bidding going on for this watch. Again, because of the craftsmanship, the watch itself is extremely innovative. And basically the young entrepreneur who is much more active than before, especially in the tech industry, AI, the crypto industry. They're very active. They want to wear something. They can wear it during the day, at night, in the evening. So I think it's a multifaceted watch. It's a great brand, and I think it'll do very well in auction.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. We see that the collectors, this kind of watch definitely appeals to the younger generation of collectors. As you say, it's the more active. It's a striking piece, and it just looks so different as well from all the other watches on the market there. And turning to lot number 3, so that's our second Richard Mille of the sale, and that's the Richard Mille, the RM 6501, which is a pink gold split seconds chronograph. What do you like about this watch, Brian?
I think the same thing I mentioned about the Rafael Nadal as well. It's a very highly innovative watch itself. I looked at it, the color scheme, the material that is used. Again, it's for everyday use, but again, you can wear somewhere very formal or informal. I think the good thing, I think what Richard Mille has done in his watch history is that it really transformed the industry on its head, whereby the crowd that is much more active can wear the watch in an outside setting, and also wear it in an inside setting in a formal event. So I think it's very it fluctuates with where you are, what you're doing, and time wise. The watch looks fantastic. The materials that is used is fantastic, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the best selling Richard Mille so far that Shama has come out with.
Yeah, we get a lot of inquiries for Richard Mille.
This time you have the top 2. I really give you
Yeah,
kudos this time. But really, both of the watches are really a phenomenon, and whoever wins them, I congratulate you from here.
excellent. Happy days, happy days. So to wrap up then, whether it's a Bugatti Chiron, a Richard Mille, or an exceptional property, they all have something in common. They're created through extraordinary craftsmanship, innovation, and vision. And ultimately, that's what makes them so desirable to collectors around the world. Brian, Duccio, thank you both very much indeed for being with us today. Time now to take a look at some of the standout watches in this sale. The idea behind materiality is that the materials an object is made from are often part of what makes it so desirable. And that couldn't be more true than with these watches. Across this selection, you'll find everything from black ceramic and platinum to pink gold, yellow gold, white gold, and even a rare natural coral dial. Combined with exceptional craftsmanship and technical innovation, each one tells its own story and offers collectors something completely different. Joining me to discuss some of the highlight watches is Carl Chen, cataloger in Sotheby's watches department. Carl researches and catalogs some of the world's finest timepieces, so he's the perfect person to explain what makes these watches so special. Carl, it's great to have you with us.
Great to have you, Paul. Thank you very much for the introduction.
So let's jump straight in, and let's jump into the second lot of the sale, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar. So maybe you can talk to us about this watch.
So this is definitely one of my favorites from the sale. I mean, it's quite a compact list, but of the 13, I think there's a great selection. Obviously, with the theme materiality, to have within 13 lots such a huge variance across different materials is very special. And then so with this one we have black ceramic, which is like quite exotic. What I really love personally is that echoing the words of a collector who I know well. From afar, it could even just look like a G-Shock. But actually, when you get closer and you can see the way that this material catches the light, the way that AP has finished it, which actually we'll get into soon, is nothing short of spectacular. So it becomes, from something from afar, which could look, really, really sort of almost pedestrian, fly under the radar. And then when you handle it,
understated luxury.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people are chasing these days. And to really, really appreciate why AP, is actually the perfect brand to work with black ceramic, you have to get into the history of AP and the history, especially of the Royal Oak, which is, I think, now their landmark property. And it's really, AP, they've always been well regarded in the watch circle, but it's really, the Royal Oak is what put them on the map, in popular culture, certainly. So in 1972, they hired this visionary director called Gerald Genta. So he's the one who completely designed the Royal Oak from scratch. Legend is it took him less than 2 days. And then he then went on to design, the Cartier Pasha, the Patek Nautilus, amongst many, many other designs. And he's really like one of the most famous designers in the entirety of contemporary watchmaking, certainly. And in 1972, he envisioned what, he wanted to design as much a bracelet as a timepiece. So when you look at the Royal Oak today, it's angular and it's integrated. You can't see where the clasp comes together. And it's really, he really accomplished his mission to design a true bracelet watch. To him and to AP, the original intent was always to make it in stainless steel, which is unusual for the period in 1972. Luxury watches are all in precious metals. But he wanted stainless steel for the durability.
Let's move on to the Rolex, so the Daytona. So this is lot number 5. It's in platinum. So talk us through this one.
So platinum is a favorite material of most, like really discerning collectors. Be it when we talk about Rolex, Patek or any brand, when you hear platinum, it really rings the bell of collectors' heartstrings, just because, traditionally it was preserved for the most prestigious, of references, of examples. The first time the platinum was applied to Rolex, they made it in 4 examples for the then Rolex CEO. These watches, these platinum Daytonas have since then, every single one that has come to market has then set the record for that reference of Rolex. There was one that Sotheby's, led by Sam Hines, proudly sold around 2020, I believe, for 20 million Hong Kong dollars at the time. So so platinum is a material that is reserved by Rolex, by Patek for their most unique, the most special watches. In 2013, this is when Rolex, first started producing the reference that we have here. So platinum, it's considered. So why is platinum attractive? It's because it's definitely more lustrous than stainless steel. When you compare the two, you could really see a difference. But it's also cooler than white gold. When you compare platinum with white gold, they're both precious metal, but white gold is a bit warmer, platinum is a bit cooler. So that's why with Patek, when we see them using platinum in the world time with the map, that's why Patek's platinum world time is a map of the Arctic Circle as opposed to other continents. So with Rolex, what does this cool color mean? It means they pair it with an ice blue dial. And this ice blue dial has really come to be very collectible because it signifies the case metal, but it's also very attractive. And then going a step further with this example, why is this one special? It's because it's extremely rare with the applied Eastern Arabic numerals. You'll see it on the dial. It's very hard to miss, highly stylized. And when we talk about rarity, what is rare for Rolex or Patek? Well, for Rolex, certainly, for a brand that makes 1 million watches a year, I would say that, even 1% of that is rare. So I would consider a Rolex that we could say that several thousand examples are known. I would say that's pretty rare. This one, 3 have come to auction, so it's extremely it's sought after, certainly, but also very hard to find. It is the Daytona to have today, I would say.
Thank you. Right, let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to staying with Rolex. Just talk briefly about the date, because I understand. Obviously, the materiality factor here is the rarity of that coral dial.
It's a prestigious model, but has always sort of, not been the most popular. But now, as collectors are searching for the rare and, are delving deeper and deeper into Rolex history and really finding the objectively rare, as opposed to, special Daytonas, which are certainly hard to find, but are actually very numerous in production. But these hard stone Rolex dials were produced in maybe a few hundred examples. And to find them in pristine, uncracked condition, there may be less than 20 in the world that are like truly pristine. Yeah. And here we have coral. And for the discerning collector, like, you will know that there are a lot of orange dials within the vintage Rolex catalog, but the majority of those are Stella, which means that it's lacquer. It's not hardstone. So this coral dial is a single piece of coral hardstone. It's extremely hard, not only to manufacture, but to keep in pristine condition, uncracked. So here we have one that is, the dial, our specialists have looped it. We need to make sure that it's in good condition. And we can testify that it is, immaculate, spectacular, and very, very rare.
Amazing. I find it fascinating that I mean, it's like with everything, right? It's like fashion. It's cyclical. And that a few years ago, no one would look at these. In my field, in jewelry, colored diamonds. The 60s, the 70s, colored diamonds were what were churned up when you were looking for the real diamonds, the white diamonds. And people they just didn't pay attention. The market wasn't there. People were busy with the rubies, the emeralds, the sapphires. If you wanted color, you'd go down that line, but you wouldn't go for a colored diamond. And then now we see the craziness of the colored diamonds, and they just keep going from strength to strength, which is fascinating. And again, it's a time and a place, right? It's a little snapshot when this watch was made. It was a little snapshot of the era and the period. One more watch I want to talk about is the titanium, the Uber.
So, like the first thing that you'll realize when you look at this watch is how futuristic it looks. It looks like it's from the space age, or they've really taken this. They've made this essentially their entire DNA. Is, like watches that look like they belong in a spaceship. But actually, the complication that that this watch houses is rooted in history, as is most of the things that really become appreciated and collectible in watchmaking. So, the story goes that in the 17th century, the Pope couldn't sleep because he was suffering from insomnia from the stress of his job, but also he had this huge clock in his chambers that ticked at night. So it isn't the tick of the pendulum or the escapement, because back then with these big clocks, every time the hand moves, it would go tick, or every minute or half minute, however the clock was tuned. So he commissioned watchmakers to make a silent clock. So how did they do this? They made something called the wandering hours, which is the complication that we see in this watch, where you don't have hands anymore. And that contributes to how futuristic it looks. Instead, you have discs that are constantly in motion, and they glide, and through this, they have a digital indication of time. So I love that Urwerk, they've taken this complication that isn't rooted in history, certainly, but has the potential to look space age. And then they've executed in such a way with a fully titanium, very angular, asymmetric case, fully and in this gray finish to make it look like it belongs in a spaceship, I think is inspired.
Incredible. Love it. As we're saying, beyond telling the time, so these pieces, they really do represent the craftsmanship, the engineering, the history, and the personal passion. And these are qualities that continue to drive demand at the very top of the market. So Carl, massive thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. Check out the 13 watches on the Materiality auction page. It closes on Friday, the 10th of July. If you've got any questions about the watches, please do reach out to Carl. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Time now to take a look at some of the standout jewelry lots in this sale. At the heart of materiality is the idea that the materials behind an object help define its beauty, rarity, and desirability. Jewelry is perhaps the perfect example of this. Alongside exceptional diamonds and colored gemstones, this selection features unexpected materials, including wood, copper, and bronze, using less common gemstones such as agate, moonstone, and nephrite jade, proving that great jewelry is as much about creativity and craftsmanship as it is precious stones. Joining me now is Graham Thompson, Senior International Specialist in Sotheby's Jewelry Department. Graham has spent nearly 25 years working with some of the world's rarest diamonds, colored gemstones, and high jewelry, making him the perfect person to tell us what makes these lots so special. Graham, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight in with perhaps the most distinctive lots in the jewelry section, the Hemmerle pieces.
I mean, I have to say, as a sort of capsule collection for jewelry, I don't think there is a brand that could fit the materiality theme better. Hemmerle is a very, very old company. In fact, in 2018, I attended their 125th anniversary. That was in the Met Museum in New York, in the Egyptian Hall. And I think that says in itself a huge amount. And really, Hemmerle as a brand captures so much, but it's the unusual style. It's very iconic. It's very identifiable, as well as their unusual materials that they used, as you mentioned, Paul, and also the unique and unusual gemstones that all come together to create these wonderful contemporary jewelry designs.
Yeah, and what I find interesting with them is so they fuse not only non-precious metals like your iron, like your copper, like your bronze, but also it's with non-precious or semi-precious gemstones. So mixing amethyst, using agate, using not your traditional emeralds, rubies, sapphires, diamonds, and fusing those together. And they've got such a collector base and such a following because as soon as you see their designs, you know straight away from across the room, yeah, that's Hemmerle. Turning to lot 17, they'll then they'll do those out there designs, and they're very bold, they're very oversized, they're very strong designs, and the aesthetic is strong and the physical size is strong as well. And then lot 17, this 19 carat Ceylon sapphire, which is a step cut Ceylon sapphire, but it's set by Hemmerle. So they're going to set it, okay, this is in 18 carat white gold, but with a twist because it's Hemmerle. And so it's sandblasted. And so you look at the material, you look at the metal of the ring, you don't know what it is. You don't know that's white gold. You think it might be titanium. You think it might be brushed. There's some, I don't know. It could be anything but white gold.
Yeah.
And that's their beauty.
I think, yeah, there's always something very unique and individual about a Hemmerle piece, and with the sandblasting of the white gold, it mats down the finish, so it's very, very subtle and actually very, very wearable. I think the great thing about Hemmerle pieces is they can be dressed up or they can be dressed down. You know, it doesn't necessarily be an evening jewel just because you're wearing Hemmerle, and I think the sapphire ring really encapsulates that. And not only is the setting very simple. It's literally a simple 4-claw setting with this unique sandblasted twist. But also they've chosen a very exceptional rare sapphire. Actually, this is a Ceylon unheated sapphire of 19 carats. And also it's emerald cut. And emerald cut is one of the rarest cuts that we see with sapphires, particularly in this size. So there's lots of things going on with this particular ring, but yet when you look at it, it's actually very understated, and I think that's fascinating in a way.
Yeah. Let's move on to the moonstone and wood. So yes, we've got the different materials that the stones are set in, but here in this pair of earrings, we've got it's lot 18. We've got the moonstones, and just above them, we've got this wood. And you do a double take every time you see these. Is that a stone? Is that you? Again, it's that question mark, and that's the beauty of the pieces, and that's what jewelry should do because it's an aesthetic. And I think you see these, you do a double take. Okay, moonstone, yes, but what is that above it? And it's the wood, and it's that boldness to set a piece of wood. I mean, for a jeweler to work in wood and to offer you moonstone and wood, it's such a Hemmerle move. I love it.
Yeah, it very much is, and what I further love about the earrings is it's, you know, to have the wood there, and it will be an ancient rare type of wood, but then finding a pair of stones. Don't forget it's a pair, so you can't just have one. You have to have two that also incorporate the wood design, but are bold enough to be as drops in this instance, but different enough that they're almost juxtaposed with each other. So you've got two moonstones that are actually very different types of stones, but they work so well together. And again, it's creating that sort of uniqueness. And I think there's also a practical aspect to designing jewelry that I think can be missed sometimes. These are a very, very imposing pair of earrings when you see them worn. They're very, very identifiable and noticeable because of their scale. Yet, they're also very light and therefore very, very easy to wear. And particularly with earrings, you do need to have that, because how many times is a poor lady of an evening, 3 hours into the evening, and her ears are hurting so painfully because of the earrings that she's wearing? And in this instance, it's not the case. And I think that again is down to a very particular sense of design aesthetic and wearability.
Let's move to one of the other lots. Let's move to this Paraíba. So almost 200 carats. This is a no reserve lot as well. What would you do with that to set that? How would you set that? Not a pinky ring. even for you?
That's a very good question. I mean, we see some big gemstones out there, and the bigger the gemstone, or the more difficult they are to create a particular jewel with, because larger stones really, they can't be worn on their ears if they're a pair. Maybe on the hand, it's starting to get too big, possibly a bangle. I generally think that larger stones tend to be set in necklaces more than anything else. So something around the neck. But yeah, I think Paraibas are a very, very interesting stone, and I think it would be fair to say that their time is right now. They are so in vogue at the moment. Collectors have really, really shifted their attention to Paraibas. Within less than the last year, we've really seen the market rocket for these very rare and unusual gemstones.
Yeah, they're definitely having a moment. And this is one of those prime examples of Sotheby's bespoke. So we've got this relatively new entity in the company where we can set the jewel for the person. So if someone purchases this Paraiba, if they don't know how they want to set it, or they've got an idea how they would like to set it, then we can work with them, and we can set that. We can offer that service. So we work with all of the workshops around the world, in Europe, in Asia, in North America. And we have that complete flexibility that the brands don't. The brands have to stick to their DNA and to their archives, whereas we really do have that flexibility to do anything and to work with the person wearing it, which is always super fun. Moving on now, so let's go to some yellow diamonds. Let's talk about yellow diamonds. We'll start with the more traditional, in inverted commas, and we'll start with lot 23, which is the fancy intense yellow diamond and diamond ring. This one's interesting because for me, yellow diamonds are having a moment.
Colored diamonds up until 30 years ago were never really understood, to be honest. They were completely bypassed by most people. There was only a select few people within the industry that were actually buying and selling colored diamonds, and to see a retailer stocking colored diamonds that long ago was basically unheard of. So I think in the last 20 years, we've really seen a surge in demand for colored diamonds. I think comparatively to white diamonds, they're a lot rarer. And yellows being probably the most produced within the sort of color diamond spectrum, red being the rarest. Red and purple, I would say, are the rarest types of colored diamonds. But I do love the fancy intense yellow. I know this stone well. It's a 13 karat fancy intense yellow, and it's VVS2. So it's a very strong lemon yellow color, and it's very clean at VVS2. But what I like about it most is it's an emerald cut. It's a square emerald cut. And that is my preferred cut because you can see right into that stone. And the way the facet arrangements are within this particular fancy intense yellow, you can really dive right into the stone in that color. And the scintillation and the fire within the diamond is really remarkable. And at 13 carats, it's a big size, so it's a true gem of a stone. And as with all of the jewelry lots in the Materiality sale, I think the prices are very attractive. So I think it offers a great opportunity for a buyer.
Yeah, and it's nice, and that's jumping on the cut. It's what I love about this sale. As with you, I too am a massive fan of the step cuts, the emerald cuts, the square emerald cuts. And if you look at what we have in this sale, so we've got the amethysts, we've got the sapphire, we've got this yellow, we've got the necklace, the white diamond necklace, and then we've got the ring, the 10 carat step cut ring at the end as well. So it's an emerald cut step cut bonanza. We've got the staples in inverted commas that people can look out for. So we've got Van Cleef, and we've got Bulgari as well. Graham, absolute pleasure talking to you as ever. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your insight and sharing your stories on these pieces. The sale is closing soon. We've got 13 lots of jewelry in the sale. As I was saying earlier, so these pieces, they do demonstrate that exceptional jewelry isn't simply about the biggest diamond. It's about creativity, craftsmanship, and originality. And the spirit of Materiality this sale, it's showcasing that the materials chosen by a designer can be every bit as important as the finished piece itself. Time now to turn our attention to one of the most iconic luxury brands in the world. Few objects have achieved quite the same status as an Hermès Kelly. Originally designed as a practical handbag, today it's regarded as one of the most collectible luxury items on the planet. But this isn't just any Kelly. It's one of the rarest modern interpretations of the design and a perfect example of materiality, where exceptional materials and extraordinary craftsmanship come together. Joining me now is Aurélie Vassy, Director and Head of Handbags and Fashion for the Middle East, based in Sotheby's, Paris. Aurélie spends her time sourcing and presenting some of the world's rarest handbags for collectors across the globe, so she'll be helping us explore what makes this remarkable Hermès Kelly so special. Aurélie, welcome.
Thank you so much, Paul.
So let's jump straight in. A single lot, lot 15, the Hermès limited edition black box Midas Kelly 25 Sellier with 18-karat yellow gold hardware. So before you tell us about this particular bag, let's start by painting the Kelly picture. Where does the Kelly sit in the Hermès stable? No pun intended. And I believe the roots of the Kelly are not what most people believe.
You're right, Paul. You always think about Princess Grace de Monaco when you think about the Kelly bag. But prior to this beautiful and famous name, the bag was called Sac de Dame à dépêche. It was really a functional bag crafted in the 30s in France, in the atelier. And it was just a very practical trapeze bag, more like a vault with a lock, key, and a clochette to keep it inside. And it's really by accident that it became an icon, because Grace Kelly, at that time, not the princess, she went to the store in Paris with friend Edith Head. She was in charge of putting all the fashion dresses for all the Hitchcock films. And she fell in love with this particular bag. It was really not the most famous bag at Hermes. And during her pregnancy, she was trying to hide her belly in front of the photographer. And this photo changed everything and put this bag in the cultural aspects and changed everything. And since this photo, all the ladies in the world were asking the bag worn by Grace Kelly, and then became the Kelly bag. And it's only in the 1977 that Hermes decided to rename the bag after Grace Kelly. But prior to that, it was really Sac de Dame à dépêche, and everybody used to call it the Kelly bag.
When did this bag come out, Aurélie? It's relatively recent, isn't it?
Yes, to 2023, so really recent. But Hermes, it's not the first time that Hermes used gold. Most of the time, they put it on the hardware, but with diamonds. So it's more an evocation and interpretation of the boundaries between jewelry and handbags. But for this particular bag, Midas, I see more the creativity of the atelier trying to move forward with material. And this is the idea of transforming a material into another one. So this is also the idea of this myth of King Midas, because he can transform material to another. So I love the idea of this theme into the theme.
And this bag, I mean, it epitomizes the theme of our sale. When you think of materiality, you think of the physical materials that you start with, and then you think of the artisanal, the craftsmanship it takes to make those materials into this bag. So you've got the stitching that goes into it, you've got the finishing, you've got the crafting of the 18-karat gold, and it's the hours as well that's needed to produce such a piece. So final question, why should this bag sit in the collection?
It's a limited edition, meaning that they are the rarest pieces ever made, and they are part of the legacy of Hermes, because each year and each decade they will create bags that will never be reproduced again, and Midas will never be reproduced again. That's obvious. And I think the last thing is it's a small bag. I didn't mention it, but the smaller the better in my markets. So it's a small bag. It's a size 25, meaning that to enjoy it, it's easier because it's for the night, for social. You can have it with a beautiful feminine outfit. And this element is a key element because you need to have big bags, big Birkin in your collection because they are part of the legacy of the Birkin legacy. But for Kelly, it's totally okay to go into smaller size. And regarding the fact that this is this combination of gold and 18 karat gold and box leather, this discussion works so well. I really think this bag also could enter into this idea of beautiful pieces showcased in your wardrobe, close to, I would say, Himalayas with diamonds. Same kinds of DNA in aesthetics. The magic between jewelry, gold, and the classic handbags crafted by Hermes. And the last thing is that I think that one day Hermes will go into other myths, other Greek or Roman, I would say, let's say in the coming years. And it would be maybe part of a theme in your collection, the myth.
So brilliant. Aurélie, thank you so much for that.
Thank you,
this
Paul.
bag, it's a perfect example of how exceptional materials combined with remarkable savoir-faire can transform an already iconic object into something truly extraordinary. Aurélie, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. And I hope that the new owner of the bag will love it and enjoy it every day.
So that's it for this special broadcast where we've previewed just some of the exceptional highlights from the Abu Dhabi Collectors Edit Materiality. My sincere thanks to Dr. Brian Etimad and RM Sotheby's Duccio Lopresto, together with my Sotheby's colleagues who shared their expertise and insights with us today. I hope they've given you a deeper understanding of the remarkable jewelry, watches, Hermes handbag, and motor cars on offer. Before we go, it's worth reflecting on what makes Materiality so distinctive. Bringing together motor cars, jewelry, watches, a Hermes handbag, and a bike in a single sale isn't simply about showcasing luxury. It's about celebrating extraordinary craftsmanship, remarkable provenance, and the enduring appeal of objects that all tell a story. Abu Dhabi has firmly established itself as a global destination for collectors, making it the perfect setting for a sale that brings together some of the rarest and most desirable objects across so many collecting categories. To explore the full catalogue, visit Sotheby's.com for the jewellery, watches, Hermes handbag and Bugatti Factor ONE bike, and rmsotheby's.com for the motor cars, including the Ferrari 126 C4 Junior children's car. The sale closes on Friday the 10th of July, with the motor car lots closing from 4:30 p.m. Gold Standard Time, followed by the jewellery, watches, handbag and bike from 5 p.m. Gold Standard Time. Lots close independently at 1-minute intervals and closing times are subject to change. If you haven't already, be sure to register to bid via the respective websites and please take a moment to review the conditions of business before placing your bids. We hope this preview has inspired you to explore the full catalogue and perhaps even discover the piece that speaks to you. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you every success and happy bidding in the Abu Dhabi Collectors Edit Materiality. Goodbye.